I never give up. I never give up. I never give up.
Hi guys, welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Another fantastic day. And today is a fantastic day because the sun is shining and I actually feel really good because I've got Brittany Cano with me. Brittany and me share kind of a similar transformation. Now, we heard loads about my transformation in the past with alcohol and PTSD, etc. But there is now a new transformation happening for many healthcare professionals. Me, I'm a hardcore anesthetist, all the blood, gore, etc. But here I am transforming into a functional medicine specialist and becoming far more holistic in my approach. And my guest today, Brittany, is exactly on that same path of actually going from one side of the fence to explore the other side of the fence, and therefore being able to bridge a divide, therefore being able to be far more holistic and far more efficient in the way that we can look after our patients, clients, guests, however we want to call them. So I can't wait to deep dive into this conversation. Brittany, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Stephan. I'm happy to be here. I've really been looking forward to connecting with you. Like you said, we have some similarities in our background, and I know that this is going to be such a great time.
Now, you initially came onto the scene as an intensive care nurse. So you went through the hard work of actually becoming a nurse in the first instance, and then subspecializing into a very demanding time. Tell us a bit about that.
It really is. I started off initially with some pediatric and working in the heart department, like telemetry, and then went straight into ICU after I got my year experience. And as you can hear in the name, intensive care, it can be very intense. And I really loved it at first. And I still have, some fondness for it. Sometimes I'll think about going back, and then I think about pushing a ICU bed all the way to CAT scan. And I remember that the fantasy will not be fulfilled when I go back to that place, if I were to go there. But, shortly after maybe a few years working in ICU, I realized that there's so much that we could do to prevent people from ending up in that case. And so that's when I really started to want to shift gears.
Oh, that's so beautifully said, isn't it? Because we see it again and again. There is, I'm giving a bit of your powder away, but about 80% of the medical diseases that doctors treat are directly related to the lack of nutrition and the crap nutrition that we are putting into us, and the lifestyle factors that we have let or we have modified ourselves. Let's take the onus actually on us, rather than the social engineering that no doubt has occurred over the last 50 years. Wow. So, I mean, you fast-tracked here quite a bit, but having said that, 15 years in ICU leaves its trace. I remember a time when I was thinking about becoming an intensivist, and I had worked 6 months in an ICU. And one morning I came home after a night shift, and I thought, let's just watch a film. And I started watching Forrest Gump. And after 5 minutes, I started crying, and I couldn't stop crying throughout the whole bloody film. So talk about burnout, talk about having taken on all the death, tragedy, intensity. Wow. So I've put my cards on the table. Did you have similar experiences?
I did. I feel like it fluctuates, like for healthcare workers, between like that super emotional and then just not caring about anything at all. And I feel like when I worked in ICU, I would just go out and party. Like that was my gateway to deal with the stress of it and deal with past traumas. And it really did take its toll. I worked night shift as well at a time, and that's a whole other story, working nights like that. I just felt like a weirdo for a while. Like didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. It just felt really off working night shift. But yeah, definitely, especially during the pandemic, I went back and worked in the ICU full time after I had not worked full time for a few years.
Mm.
And that really took a toll on my body. Like the stress of that, the stress of running my business, and just that constant fight or flight. Like I ended up in a gastroenterologist office right outside of New York City during the pandemic. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm more stressed than I realize I am. And
Oh,
the
nicely,
stress is real.
nicely said, because the issues lie in the tissues. There's no two ways around it. When we live the lives to the fullest, either in a positive way or far more common in a negative way, then your body says, actually, really? Do you really want to do that? And it sends us little messages. And typically we don't listen, don't we?
And I would have, like, at that time, because this was the beginning of 21, I would have said, like, I'm doing great, right? Was it the beginning of 21? Yeah, it was the beginning of 21. I'm doing well, right? I'm exercise, I eat pretty well, I meditate, I practice mindfulness. Like I had a solid self-care routine. And yet here I was with a minor GI bleed. And so I had the option to just say, oh, this is just coincidental, or really hone in on the wisdom and say, what is my body trying to tell me right now?
So true. Yeah. So true, isn't it? Oh, and the messages are there, but you're overriding them because you think you know better. Your ego is driving you, or sometimes it's not the ego. Sometimes you know that you're actually doing far too much, but circumstances. Because if you suddenly your one business or one way of living is no longer possible with COVID, and you're forced to make money come in through a harder way and far more intense way, where you know it's now time to put a nose to the grindstone, you might choose to overlook or not listen to the messages that your body sends you. And I love it that what you said here, you looked after your hydration, you looked after the basic human needs that we typically forget, the sleep, all those kind of things, but you still ended up in trouble. And that's what it's a very common scenario. B is, what did you do? I mean, here you recognized those things. What happened?
For me, it really was a wake-up call in how much of my energy I was putting into work and into my business, and that striving on such a high level and needing to perform, that it really had me look at my values, look at my life even more and say, like, is this really how I want to operate? And it also gave me the opportunity to look at unprocessed trauma. And these were things I thought I had worked through, right? I did work through, it's not that I didn't. And as we know, if we've been on this journey any amount of time, there's always layers. And so it was time to start peeling back and looking at other layers of the trauma. So that really, as hard as it has been at times, like I'm really grateful for the opportunity, because now fast forward, I'm in a much better place than I was before that. So we can really use those hard times a lot of times to be in a better spot if we can work through it, find that silver lining, even though sometimes in the middle of it, you may not recognize it.
Could not agree more. And it's beautifully said. It's just so hard for people to recognize that this is not just a platitude, not just a stupid saying, but it is actually truth. That without those hard times, we do not appreciate the good times. And that's where many of us do wake up after trauma and live far more intentionally and live far more focused and do not take things for granted. This intentional living, I think this is the gift, that is the post-traumatic growth that is waiting for all of us if we just can readjust the way we are thinking away from this victim paradigm of, oh, poor me, towards, okay, the survivor first. And then when the growth starts, then you become the thriver. And that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah. And that really was, like, for me, it woke me up to, like, the importance of taking care of my nervous system. And, like, it put me on a whole other level of that self-regulation, self-honoring.
Yeah. But did you not
And
just say you did that before? You did the mindfulness, you did all that. Well, what more can you do?
Well, that's why I really believe you got to listen to your body, right? Instead of like, what's wrong with my body? Recognizing, oh no, my body is so wise and it's really giving me important information I need to pay attention to.
Mm.
And same thing, I believe in a way, if we keep having reoccurring things in our life. So fast forward in 21, I had something that I would say was like a pretty traumatic betrayal, really.
Mm.
And so again, an opportunity came out of it. Like, it was tragic for me. And I was able to just really connect more deeply to myself, connect to my resiliency, look at the big picture, look at what beliefs were causing this, to show up in my life again, and really do even a much deeper mental, emotional, and spiritual clearing, through that trauma. So as hard as it had been, I'm grateful for it, because I would have told you at that time, I'm in a good place. So it's not that we're not in good places, but there's always like that room for, I don't want to say always, but the majority of the time there's a room for growth, and there's a room for like a higher level of healing, has been my experience.
Very true. Very, very true. I experience similar waves of shit washing over my life, far more waves than I actually like to care. But again, this year, a major wave coming through, and now I've ridden that wave. I have not let it drown me. I've surfed the wave, and the wave is now petering out, and that's good. And I think there's a nice saying: even the darkest hour only has 60 minutes. So all those kind of things that are happening in our lives, they are temporary. That be an anxiety attack where your head is raising and your breath is trying to keep up and your heart rate is crazy. Give that 10 minutes, give that some breathing exercises, and suddenly things will calm down. Maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
It will calm down. And the moment you start learning more techniques to deal with that, the better you will become, and the faster you can, or the more you can shorten these waves, and the more you can take the amplitude of the wave down and actually make it so much more bearable, because you're more in control.
Yeah, and that attachment piece, right? Not being attached to the suffering, but also not being too attached to the enjoyment and pleasure of life as well. It's like the impermanence. I try to remember, okay, there's all, this will come, this will go, right? This too shall pass, whether it's like pure joy and fun, or whether it's like, oh my gosh, I'm really down in the dumps. Life is so hard. It's
no. But when I look into the television, I see young people, and they drink a Coke, and they're fun, and they're living, and they're going out nice. See, I just need to have another Coke. See, it's so easy. It's so easy.
Yeah, it requires showing up over and over and over again. That's definitely something with my clients, I'm like, pick something. Like, we want to set these huge lofty goals, and like, I'm all about, taking your life to the next level. I'm like, let's make sure we're doing like the basic things, right? We have to lay our foundation in life and be realistic. And another bottle of Coke's not going to take us there.
Good,
and if it does, it's not going to last long.
Well, touche, the sugar rush, this artificial bliss. But that is
it's
what
going to get you there, then just drop back down.
Oh, and down.
Yeah.
The problem is, though, that is what society has been conditioned to believe in, that this is immediate satisfaction, immediate this, immediate that. And I think there is to even stop on the rat race is nowadays becoming, I think, more difficult. Having said that, luckily, people like you are out there, and through your own experiences have recognized the need to do so. But you had already done it. As I come back to that point, you said you had a very, very good self-care routine, and that is far better than the vast majority of people I know. Okay, so still you were in trouble. So first of all, what are the key foundations? What are the pillars of your self-care routine that you think are absolutely as important as breathing?
Well, definitely breath. I'm a huge person to say you got to do those deep belly breathing. You got to like
Mhm.
know your breath, know your breath. You know yourself. You can really drop into the present.
Yeah.
So that's huge. For me, really, breath work is moving, like movement of some sort. Like I need to move my body. I know that. I used to be depressed, and it wasn't really until I regularly exercised for. Say once I stuck with it consistently, because I had all most of my life I've been active, but that consistency piece was missing from the equation.
Yeah.
So about 6 months after consistently moving my body, I was not waking up with like such intense sadness. So to me, like I know for so many reasons, for my physical health, but also my mental and emotional health, I need to move my body. Connecting with people, like even if you're an introvert, I love my alone time, but I know that I need to be around people, that it's an essential part of my well-being. Nutrition, I could eat better, but really trying to eat nourishing foods a majority of the time and
Mm.
enjoying what you eat. I think that to
Mm.
me, that's so important to enjoy what you're eating as well.
That's true.
And that mindfulness, that meditation piece, that practicing being in your life, in the moment, not judging it, that's something that I try to really live by. And practicing compassion to others, compassion to myself, and questioning my thoughts. Like that's something that I do regularly. We take our mind, we take our thoughts like it's a fact. That's like the way it is. And our mind will tell us so many things that are a bunch of crap. And so really questioning my mind on a regular basis.
Ooh, beautifully said. Oh, so easy. I was making a joke yesterday out of it. I walked I had delivered one patient into recovery. So I came back into theater, and two nurses were sort of, and then stopped talking when I walked in. And I thought, okay, that is clearly
Yeah,
about
they were
me.
talking about
And
me.
that's
Yeah, of
clear.
course.
And I spelled it out like that in a self-depreciating way. This is clearly about me, and I need to take that immediately personal. And of course, it was not. It was something completely different. But
Yeah,
it was just good fun to sometimes pull your own socks up and actually say, because that was immediately what went through my mind. And then I verbalized it, and it became clear by me putting it out there.
You're
we
like,
all laughed, and then it got on with it, and it was just beautiful. So sometimes it's quite good to have that self-awareness that these are the stupid voices in our head that are so powerful. Man, I love
recognize like, okay, that's the inner critic, or that's the story I'm telling myself. Is it true? And then there's so much power in pausing. Like I've added pauses into my life, like pausing, breathing. How do I want to respond to this so that I'm not just in reaction mode all the time?
Nice.
So that's like essential in my self-care wellness kit. Those are like the fundamentals for me.
Beautiful.
And then to go back to, because I know that you talk a lot about sobriety on your show, going back to when I was having all those stomach issues. Also, I was drinking quite a bit of alcohol at that time, right? During the pandemic and before the pandemic, right? The alcohol was a thing that was part of my life since I was 13 years old. And the older I got, the less it became part of my life. And really, that year of 21, it just became more and more clear that it didn't align with my definition of health. It didn't align with me, really. And I think that was such a huge gift that came through with that betrayal, that came through with the GI bleed, that came through with like realizing, oh my gosh, I have all this trauma still that needs some TLC here. Was wait, I also don't need to use alcohol and run from all this.
Beautiful. Having said that, talking about the alcohol, what did the alcohol give you when you were 13, as a teenager?
The story I had around this was that it gave me fun. It gave me fun, and it gave me like just a good time. That was my story around alcohol. And then when I really started deciding not to drink, I read this book, How to Quit Drinking the Easy Way. Have you read that one or heard of it?
Heard yes, read no.
So it's like he hypnotizes you in this book and just tells you all of the stories you're telling yourself about alcohol are not really true. Like, do you and can you have fun without alcohol? Yes. Like, can you relax and be in the moment without alcohol? Yes. And then he goes into like all of the science of how it's actually such a toxin. It doesn't actually do all these things and how it does the exact opposite. And it's so clear throughout the book that by the end, I already wasn't interested in really drinking, but I wanted to make sure I really convinced myself though. By the end of the book, I was like, wow, like it just lines it all out so easily for you. So it made it a lot easier for me to just continue on that path.
Nice. Good. And sometimes you need that, exactly that quick aha, that's why. And that can be so powerful. And I think, again, coming back then to you as a woman who is now helping others to get clarity in their head, it's often this focused intervention where we just spell out the truth in a clearly understandable language, and just lay the facts on the table. And sometimes that can be as quick as 5 minutes. And you see the light going on in your patients and your clients, and you think, aha, okay, a seed is planted. And that is so beautiful. And that is so wonderful. But you didn't just stop there. I mean, okay, we talked about the basics, the pillars of self-care. And I think since most of the people listening are probably not doing that, guys, this was gold. Okay, this is the basics. This is like breathing. That needs to be part of your life. And if you don't
drink water.
Yeah, true, that hydration. We didn't actually go in there. But these are the 5 things. And guys, I put a lot of videos out there that are basically, by the time that this video is out, our interview is going out, I've put it all on the website, so check it out. The reality is, though, sometimes there is more. So you've done the exploration of your emotions. You've done the exploration of trauma, previous trauma. But there are other things out there, other ways of healing, other ways of expanding that you tapped into. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
So for me, inner child healing has been huge along the way, like going back to those younger years of myself, and really I call it like a sacred reparenting. So that's something that I do myself, like going back to past experiences and really like seeing what I needed during that time. What did that younger part of me have to say? What was she experiencing? And then being the space for her, right? Being there. It might sound crazy if people are listening and they're like, I have no idea what she's talking about. But it's really like this part of our brain, right? A part of our subconscious from previous years that had unmet needs. And when there's no way anybody could ever meet all our needs, right? We don't even meet all of our own needs, all of the time. And so that's been really huge in my healing journey. I like to guide clients through that as well. It's really profound for them to really start to have that like more of a wholesome, connected relationship with themselves. Yeah. And then something else I love. Oh, go ahead.
So it sounds beautiful like that. And I often feel a feeling of jealousy, of envy when it comes to my guests saying that. When I think back, I can barely remember anything in the first 4 years. And then I've got sort of snippets, maybe 5, 6 snippets of memories until I'm maybe 10. So yet I know that in the first 7 years, a lot of the core beliefs, as warped and bad as they are in my head, were laid down. So how the hell can I go back and figure something out if I can't remember?
Sometimes in that meditative state, right, it's important with any kind of healing work to feel safe and like have those resources to make sure that you're able to create internal and physical safety. So that's like foundational as well, whether that's through breath, whether that's through grounding techniques. Yeah. These, you need to have that in place. You need to feel safe to be able to go there. But being in that hypnotic or meditative state, you might be surprised of things that happen. And even when working with myself and with clients, we don't remember our memories exactly how the event actually was, right? We interpret everything. Our mind fills in gaps. So it's not necessarily so much about the specifics every time. It can be more about the generalization. And then if you have something in present day that's, let's say, really pushing your buttons, you're like, I don't know why I respond so much to that. Like, let's say this, and you're like, you freaked out about it. Let's say when they were whispering, you like you threw your stuff down, or you went in the bathroom and you cried, right? It might be like, okay, that's a big response to that. That could be information that in the past, there was a past hurt. And when you go back and reflect on it, maybe you remember like, oh yeah, when I was 13, my friends were like, ditched me, right? And I felt such like an outsider. Maybe not. But like, even just being able to be open that there was probably a time where I experienced hurt, this kind of feeling, and bringing that curiosity piece, and then really meeting the need of like what you need. Like, hey, I got you. I'm here with you. It's okay if other people talk about you. It doesn't even matter. Like, whatever that is. So I would say it's not necessarily so important that you remember those things, and just trusting the process.
Wow. Okay. No, that's actually a very valid point there. Very good point. And again, it is those responses that come out of your subconscious, this kind of you flying off the handle, you being triggered by a person. Why is that? Why not just I love it how you put the emphasis on the magnitude of the response that you've just displayed. That is
practice curiosity.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh, be curious. I like. Okay. So no, it's food for thought and food for my own growth here. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh, exactly. But here you are. We talked about the exploration of the childhood trauma, essentially, or trauma in the later years. But there's also trauma that has happened even before you were born. There are other things that impact you. You explored many other parts of growth. How did you go there? And I mean, here you are. I mean, an intensive care nurse, hard and fast rules. Come on here.
How did I go to like even caring about transformation and healing? Is that what you mean?
Exactly right.
Oh, okay. Yes. I was at a crossroads, another one, about 10 years ago. And I was Miss Party Girl, living it up, working in ICU, hanging out with my friends all the time, but also really questioning, what is the meaning of life? Like, what is really the meaning of life? What is the value of life? Like, the patterns that I was running, I'm like, I've been doing this for a while now, and I had a friend at the time who was doing a lot of like deep inner healing, and he would ask me, what do you want for your life? And so I really got in that question of, what do I really want for my life? And it started, I started dreaming again, and I had the option to go to this big festival. I'm in Florida in the States, like big, like concerts and pools and beaches and party all weekend, or to go to this life transformation training. So I said, you know what, if I want to have a different path, maybe I should actually try something different this weekend. And I did. And like from there, my life just, like things just drastically elevated. Things just became so much more awesome. I became accountable. I became like the director of my life, instead of being like, how do I end up in these bad relationships over and over and over again? Like these guys. And I was like, oh no, this girl, like I'm the one picking these guys. And this is why I am. And so many things came to light. And I just, honestly, it fueled my soul. And from there on, I just have been on this path of like, so much is possible. I don't have to be defined by my past. So anybody who wants to listen, I'm always open to like sharing with them. Yeah. You are not limited by your circumstances. We can change this. We're powerful. So that really was like my pivot of like, holy crap, I can do so many other things. And shortly after that is when I started my business as well. So I'm like, oh, I want to help people do this. This is so awesome because I didn't know that was even possible. This was, 10, 11 years ago, we had podcasts, we had the internet, of course, but not to the extent that we have it now. Exactly. Or at least not in my world, right? I was just blind to it. It wasn't on my radar, but now once it became on my radar, it just kept going.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So you had this weekend of insights of an eye opener kind of a thing. But then that's one thing to have this kind of momentary, oh wow, that's brilliant. I mean, how many people do similar courses? How many people go to a Tony Robbins or do to any kind of other high ticket item, spend thousands of dollars, and are infused, just as infused as they are on the 1st of January. I will drop 200 kilogram of weight, and I will do, I don't know, I
Oh
will
yeah.
make 2 million in the first 10 days. And
So yeah.
so what's the difference? Where are you? Why are you different now compared with all those 1st of January or
I
this
think
this?
what was so impactful about the coaching that I received and was that it was somatic in nature. It wasn't just me sitting there receiving all of this information. Like they really had us experience how we show up in life, experience like what we've gone through is a very experiential process.
Mm.
And I stuck with it. Like had I just did the program and said, okay, bye, like it would have been very limited. I think it was like, and I realized that because I thought because this was a 3-part program. I thought after the first one, I'm like, oh, I'm good. I fixed everything I ever had wrong with me. Air quotes wrong with me, right? But I'm like, oh, I got this whole life thing figured out. And then, as you know, you leave and life is life, and there you are. And so I realized, oh, this is like a journey. Like this is a whole thing. This is a lifestyle. And if I really want to learn this on a deep level, I need to keep showing up. And that's really what I've done ever since then is like, oh, this is a lifelong journey and just keep, investing in well-being. And I'm so grateful that I did. It's been a huge life changer. And I see how it's affected positively people in my life too. So that's the thing. Whenever we do this work, it ripples out. And like we were talking about before the show, right? We can really change our world around us. Those people can go, we change the world that way.
And that's the power that we all have got, every single one around us. We all have got the same amount of seconds in the day. We all have got the same dreads, fears, anxieties. Some of us are feeling them far harsher and far more than others. But we all have got the ability to refocus, to reprogram ourselves, to stop think, to stop feel, to actually just realize that there is more out there, and that we are not the bearded lady in the circus, but that we can be the ringmaster. And I like that. That is a very powerful insight you've got there. And what I love even more is you said earlier several times the word consistency, because you didn't just do one weekend and then say, yeah, brilliant. I went to the gym once. See, I'm fit now.
Exactly. Right. Like I did 15 bicep curls and I'm in the best shape of my life. Like
exactly.
It doesn't work like that.
So is there, I mean, here you are, I see you, girl. This, how much dopamine do we dial up? How much adrenaline? And let's intubate him. Okay, that's easy. And now suddenly you're thinking about chakras. You're thinking about energy healing. You're thinking about the life forces. How did you how did you bring that together?
Oh, let me tell you, Stephan, the first time I heard any of this stuff, I was in a spiritual workshop on the weekend. It was like, probably like 3 months from when I started. And the spiritual teacher said something about like the throat chakra and the thyroid. And I was pissed off. I was like, this is bull crap. These people don't know a single thing. This is ridiculous. And I tell you what really shifted things for me though. at that time, from probably about 13 years old, and let's say this time I was like 26, 27. So for about 13 years, I had horrible gastritis. I'll pop Prilosec, Tums, Zantac, like multiple antacids on a daily basis. Like I lived with severe gastritis. My endoscopy was negative. He's like, your stomach might be a little long, but it looks fine. And I'm like, no, dude, I have serious gastritis. So I start doing this healing work. I start processing and working through shame, like realizing I'm not the bearded lady, that I'm like, everyone has crap. All humans have all kinds of stuff, whether it's like the doctor, the CEO, the 19-year-old kid, like, oh, we all have a lot that's very similar in a lot of ways. My gastritis went away. And for me, it was like, oh yeah, we did learn about that, like psychosomatic stuff in psych in school. I'm like, that is so real. Like, this is so real. And from there, it really opened me up because I had my own personal experience of this. Oh, everything is connected. And that's kind of when the light bulb went off, like, oh, it's really, we're all of our, that's connected. Our thoughts, our emotions. Yeah. So it blew my mind. And then now here, I'm like, oh, your chakras, your energy, your thoughts carry a vibration. Whereas before I would have been like, this is bullcrap. And now what I love and I appreciate is that there's science to back up all this stuff as well. And there probably was science then, but it's just becoming stronger and stronger that this is legit real.
And I always compare it with let's say someone who was in a deep dark cave for the last 50 years, and nowadays he's coming out and we are saying, oh, yeah, that's normal here. That little box there. If I just tap in there, in about 10 minutes, a man will come and deliver us a pizza. And so and he said, what? And what do you mean? What do you mean Wi-Fi? I can't see that. How
right.
So we take so many things for granted. You are absolutely, that thing lives with many of us. We use it all the time.
We don't know exactly how that works. At least I don't.
Well, exactly.
My cell phone connect me to somebody all the way across the world.
Exactly.
But yet I use it and I know it works.
That's it. Yet we have got often these kind of barriers that we often put up and say, no, that's bullshit. I don't like that. Often these barriers have something really, how shall I say that? For example, I know someone who is a very strong Christian. And in this person's community, they say yoga, oh, that's the devil's work. Yoga is the devil. Because, and you sort of think, so there are barriers that often are put up there. I mean, what would you tell someone like that person?
I like to have it make sense in that person's perspective in a way. So like how they're seeing yoga, and then, well, what do you think about moving your body? Don't they say in the Bible, breath is life? Like, isn't it about like seeing the good in others and, practicing living in the moment and trusting the process and spreading love in the world? And that's Christian. I believe in that. And so having them see the similarities and also allowing people to have their experience and not trying to change anybody's mind. It never works to try to change anyone's mind. Or just tell them, go try Christian yoga, because there sure is a Christian yoga training too. So it brings in that biblical information, right, for people. So
Exactly.
But I think once people can expand their awareness too and say like, oh, I'm looking at Christianity like this, and I'm looking at yoga like this. What if I was to open up and see that they're not that I can have both in my life?
Yeah. And in reality, I mean, when I look at yoga, there is this kind of more the traditional forms of yoga where there is the sun salute, where is sort of a certain, things that you could say, well, actually, you're talking to a different deity, and that's incompatible with that. But don't you think that in life, I mean, when you go like that, or like that, or like that, don't you think that's a nice stretch and it makes you feel good? Could you not say that actually I'm thanking God, or I am doing, you can rephrase things tremendously.
That's what I do a lot. I try to
Mm,
make it like when I'll teach to a group of people,
mm,
I'm like, whatever your higher, like if I talk about spirituality, I'm like, whatever
mm,
that is for you.
mm,
For some people, it's nature. For some people, it's God. For some
mm,
people, it's Buddha. For some
mm,
people, it's just showing up in life and being a good person.
mm,
And you get to have that definition. Like, I'm not here to tell you what it is.
mm.
Like, keep that. That's yours. And so I think giving people permission to stay with what's true for them is really
Mm.
important.
That's really nicely said, isn't it? Because it's not my imaginary best friend is better than your imaginary best friend. It's more you have got your belief system that has sustained you, or maybe held you back. Whatever it is your belief system. But let's work with that, and let's actually see that we find common ground, and the common ground are the messages from your body that are shouting, "Stop that madness." Because that's the reason that you're here. That's the reason you guys are listening to this podcast or watching this video, because
Listen
something
to yourself.
exactly, there is something going on in your life where you think, well, actually, I think I could be a better human being. I just don't know yet how to go about it. And that's the power of someone like you, Brittany, who is going out there, someone who can bridge the divide. You can see if there is a medical thing going on, and you might point someone to say, look, before you do any more stretches, out you go, straight to the GP, straight to the family system.
Goodness, yeah. I had somebody telling me what's going on with their husband, and she wanted me to see him for like a functional fitness screening, and I'm like, he needs to go for a CAT scan first.
Exactly.
Sure enough, he ended up having back surgery.
Well,
She's like,
touche.
thank you so much for that recommendation. I'm like, yeah.
Touche, touche. I remember as a little baby doctor in Germany, I was doing night shifts as a nurse. We sort of intertrained at that time. I was doing night shifts in an oncology ward, so cancer ward. And I got talking to one of the patients, and she said, "Yeah, I went." I asked her, "Well, what were your symptoms? How did you find your cancer?" And she said, "Well, I had no symptoms, but I thought I'd go to an iris diagnostic kind of person to see by my spirits and blah blah blah." And this person looked into her eyes and said, "You go right now to the doctor. You go right now." And that was how this person's uh, life-threatening disease was diagnosed by someone who didn't just look into let's do the energy here, or let's do the I don't know whatever else there is. Let's do a bit of acupuncture for 6 months, by which time the patient would have been dead.
Right. Yeah.
It's those kind of things. So it's the beautiful bridging the divide that is so important.
And yeah, intertwining them and working together instead of this yet another division that we've created between traditional medicine and Western medicine. Like, no, these can complement each other and work together. This doesn't have to be one or the other, or war against each other.
Nope. Nope. And I think that's the key message here. I think if someone just rolls their eyes when you say a certain thing, just make sure that you have understood that rolling of the eyes as a correct message, and just clarify that nonverbal communication feedback was actually his disgust about anything that is not a tablet or a knife. And if you don't tick like that, then maybe he might not be your right partner in this path forward. If he's, however, the only oncologist in town, then you better listen to the guy, or the only surgeon in town, and he says, look, because of that, you need that. Then, okay, go along here, but you might bring on another team member or team members that can support you. Just as much as you would maybe as a Christian would go to the church and use healing prayer or something like that to support your spirituality. Well, just as much. There might be a person, a coach, who is looking after your spirit, after maybe another one, after your mind, different people. So therefore, explore what is important to you and stop, pause, as you said it, pause frequently.
Pause.
That's right.
Yes, and advocate for yourself, right? We have
Yeah.
to advocate for ourselves.
Yeah.
Ask
Well,
questions, look for answers, get the expert help.
there's a nice saying, if you surround yourself with 6 millionaires, you're going to be a millionaire. If you surround yourself with 6, you can put anything in here that you want, you're going to be it. If you are surrounding yourself with 6 doubters, 6 naysayers, well, guess what? You will never get anywhere. So I think it is, we all have got the ability to put together teams. And I want to have a power team in which I'm the dumbest member of the team.
Yes, that's important.
Exactly.
To have like the people you can learn from around you.
Exactly. And I guess that's where people are coming to my show. That's where people are coming to you. So if Brittany, you're an amazing woman. If people sort of gel with what you're saying and want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
Yes, thank you, Stephan. I think my website's the best place because then you can connect to me on social. You can reach out to me personally on there, and it's holisticnursecoaches.com. So make sure it's an ES at the end of coaches.
Very good. And look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because you've got all her information there. Brittany, you're an amazing woman. You're on a beautiful trajectory, on a beautiful path, and you're just a bit further down the line than so many of the listeners and viewers. So we invite you cordially to come along onto the path there. But where is your path taking you? Because who do you want to be when you grow up?
So somebody planted this beautiful seed at the beginning of the year about public speaking. Mind you, that was a class I didn't do well in college. I used to be terrified to speak in public. And when she presented that to me, like my soul lit up. I was like, yes, I love talking. And I have an important message. And I really, those traumas I mentioned that happened in the last few years were really, I'm like, people need to know about this. And so public speaking, connecting with more people, and then working within corporations and working within the healthcare system, because I see, that need there, and that there really is such an opportunity for reconciliation, right? For changing the way things are going, healing, and that support is so needed. So working with healthcare workers so that they can take care of their well-being and therefore, do what they're here to do.
Beautiful. Guys, when you're listening here, just like check down there, get her details and get in touch, because I strongly believe we can make this world a better place. It bloody well needs our help right now, this world. The divide is getting stronger. Let it be in religious beliefs, let it be in social problems, let it be climate issues. We need to work together, and we can't change it all, and we can't change it right now, but to just sit back and say, oh, well, we're all doomed. Well, I don't buy into that. I believe that right now we have got a lot of space for compassion, for empathy, for us going out there and making changes within us to start off with. And with these changes, you might become the light in the darkness for someone else. You might be the person that puts a smile on someone's face who was otherwise utterly desperate and without hope. And that is power. That puts you already outside of the victim position, outside even of the survivor, but it actually makes you a thriver, because you begin to give, you begin to grow. And imagine you do that every day. I call it the 5-minute gardener. Imagine you've got a garden, and every day you will spend 5 minutes in your garden. Never less, never more, but every day 5 minutes. Can you imagine that after 2-3 weeks, your garden looks very different? That after 2-3 months, your neighbors will look over the fence and will think, what the hell? And after 6 months, you probably got tour buses coming through and showing your garden. Okay.
Like, whose garden is that?
That's right. And that's 5 minutes. Imagine you do 5 minutes every day on your finances, 5 minutes every day on your relationship with your significant other. Most important, 5 minutes a day with the relationship with this significant other, with yourself. How about that? And I think that is the moment I said that I actually realized, do I do 5 minutes with myself? No, I don't. So
now you start. Today you start.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sunny day. The day's the day.
Brittany, you're an amazing woman. So thank you. So I got shitloads of insights today. I learned a lot.
I love connecting with you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Brilliant.
Great to connect with you.
Absolutely. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with passion. Okay. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.